everybody, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you don't regret it by the end of the video because I have a feeling things are gonna get pretty fired up in this one. And this was a great viewer request that like jumped my list because once it was brought up to me, I was so excited to do it. And it was from Marie Martin in my YouTube comments, I think on my very last video. And she said, what about a video on product pet peeves, products that just don't like act how you want them to? Maybe it's something about the way they apply or something with the packaging. I got a lot of pet peeves about packaging. And last night I was sitting there watching the Blues game because Bub was at the Blues game last night. He had good seats and I was like trying to find him in the crowd and stuff. And I'm sitting there and immediately like 10 quick pet peeves come to mind. I'm like, this video needs to happen. I think Marie just wants to see me go off. It's little stuff in the scope of the world and the world's problems. It's minuscule stuff. But it's stuff that when you use a lot of products, you do notice over and over again. And I'm not even gonna get into some of the things that I do talk about consistently. Like, let's just throw a few out here. Cream products that are too dry and don't blend across the skin. A foundation that claims to be full coverage but really isn't. A mascara that doesn't hold curl in the lashes. You'll hear me complain about that stuff multiple times a month. I'm trying to dig a little deeper into things that I maybe haven't ever talked about, but it's annoying as heck and it's gonna come out in this video. So let's get warmed up a little bit. Clear plastic sheets. Okay, not so much these that are just like purely protective and shows like, okay, this is a nice new untouched palette. Don't mind those so much, but the ones that have the shade names printed on them, like the brand really believes you're gonna keep that and use that for reference and then double check. And I mean, maybe some people do, but I don't have time for that and I think it's just silly. I really do. Let's find a way to print it on the packaging, at the very least on the back of the packaging so you can kind of, you know, double check. I just don't get that. Never have, never will. There's my warm up. Many of you knew how I felt about that. But here's another one. Random unnecessary sparkle in complexion products where it makes no sense. And I have a powder here from La Mer. I've got some La Mer makeup stuff. I'm not sure how exactly it's gonna work into a video. I've been trying it for months. And I've got this powder that's heavy as heck. I mean, they're trying to get a real luxurious vibe going here, but when you swatch this powder, this loose powder called, what is it, just the powder? Yes, the powder. And you swatch it out, guess what I see floating around in that little powder? I see little tiny flecks of glitter. Why? Like, why in the world? It's really strange to me because it seems so like dispersed in the product. And the first time I swatched it out on my hand and I saw that, I just thought it was residue from like something I had already swatched on my skin. But with further use, I could tell they've got a very unconcentrated, seemingly not so deliberate amount of sparkle in a face powder. Like, who wants that? I hate when sparkle shows up in places where it absolutely does not belong. There are certain products where, yes, I welcome it, but I don't think it needs to be in a loose powder that someone's maybe gonna put under their eyes. Is it gonna make it more brightening? Gosh, let's make the whole powder like satiny if that's the direction we wanna go. But this seemingly very non-deliberate sprinkling of fairy dust in a product we don't need. Also, powders with no sifter covers. You probably know what I'm talking about, but we like visual aids. Everything with Bare Minerals has like a little cover here. Doesn't even have to be this deluxe, but just something that will slide over. That La Mer's not gonna do it for you. Maybelline Fit Me's not gonna come up with something. Even just a lift-off thing. I think the Fenty powder actually has like just a plastic thing that inserts into the holes and then you can take it out. And I mean, even my dear sweet Laura Mercier powder, it's just open. You immediately make yourself more practical and travel friendly if you have something in there that's gonna keep the powder from completely shaking out. Ay, ay, ay. Love some Drunk Elephant skincare. I use a lot of it. I have a lot of it in my nighttime routine, and I've got some in my daytime routine here, especially this eye cream. This is more of an infrequent use for me, the C Firma Day Serum, but the C Tango Multivitamin Eye Cream, I use this every single day. And I do think this mechanism is cool and fun. However, does anybody notice that stuff always dries out in that little bit, in that little hole right there? Every time I open it, I not only get the fresh, like creamy eye cream, but there's a little buildup of dryness that would never ultimately blend into your eye area, you know? It's not a big deal. It's probably like a grain of rice sized product like every day that I end up removing because it's drying out in the pump. But it's like we almost need a better sealing mechanism on stuff like this. And then the other day I decided to use this after not using it in a while, and there was definite buildup in the pump to where it was like pressure was created, and by the time stuff actually came out, like it squirted. I've got droplets over here on my mirror. It went sideways, it went down, it went that way. It was like a micro makeup room explosion because of stuff drying down in these pumps. Which, you know, maybe somewhere along the line it is airtight, but there's remaining product that's getting in there, staying there, drying out, and affecting the way stuff pumps out over time. Well, I think some of this drunk skincare stuff has been like amazing for my skin. That's always a little annoyance every day. See, isn't so much of this about the packaging? Like, that's what it's coming back to for me, because I think I complain more about formula issues and stuff like that, like just on a regular basis. But here's another one. Convenience-oriented multitasking palettes with no mirror in them. Like, I understand that not every brand needs a mirror in every single eyeshadow palette, like whatever, I would prefer it probably, but it's probably an unrealistic expectation, right? But these palettes, like this one here from Flower Beauty, it's got your bronzer, your highlight, 2 blushes, 3 eyeshadows. It's completely the kind of thing that could create that last minute makeup look, you know? Maybe something you're gonna use on the plane, in a hotel where you don't have your nice mirror and lighting setup, and it would be so handy to be able to pop that open and know you had a mirror there to look into. That's a problem to me. That's causing an inconvenience. Same with this one from Profusion. You've got all these eyeshadows, your highlight, your blushes, but no mirror, and it's clearly a very multitasking, meant to be practical type of palette, small in size, everything else is going right here, but let's give people something to make it an actual on-the-go product. And these are just a couple of examples. I mean, if I wanted to do more digging, I could come up with loads more. I don't know how this one just slipped in here amid all the makeup stuff I was coming up with, but dripping with juice sloppy sheet masks. I know there's a benefit to that excess and you can rub it in places, but when I'm trying to like literally locate any bare skin I can find to put some of this excess goop, because I really don't need it dripping down my neck as I wear the sheet mask, like, are brands even thinking about what they're putting in and what could be saved? I just think it's sloppy, and it's hard to get them out even too when they're too bogged down with all that juice. Blame it on my juice. Okay, here's something I don't know if I've ever actually heard somebody complain about this, but as I was thinking about my makeup use habits, I feel like I'm noticing a trend, and it's when shades like maybe blushes or lipsticks, primarily lipsticks is what I'm thinking about, have no differentiation of their shade on the outer packaging. For example, MAC lipsticks, they all look the same, unless it's Viva Glam. I mean, but for the most part, all MAC lipsticks look like this. All Bite lipsticks look like this. This is a mini, but I mean, they don't put color on the outside. They don't indicate color on the bottom either, and there are many brands this way. Now, here's brands that are doing it right with a very subtle small splash of color, like Bare Minerals. I am wearing, by the way, this shade, the Hibiscus Bare Pro lipstick. They just have a small indication on the outer tube of what that shade is, and I feel more prone to just grabbing for one of those things when I'm in a hurry. I'm looking at what I have, and I see, oh yeah, it's that lipstick. There's a trigger, there's a mental like connection made that I don't make just seeing this. I mean, if I really want to take the time and I'm thinking about using a MAC lipstick, I'll be looking at the bottom, reading the shade name, trying to figure it out, but this is so much more quick and visual, right? Same with Too Faced, like these peach lipsticks. Look what they've done. You know, you get that little indicator there on top, and a lot of products will give it to you at least on a sticker on the bottom, and I think that helps a lot. Weigh in the comments. Tell me if that's ever annoyed you. Back to palettes. Inconsistently sized shades in a palette. I'm just reading exactly the way I took my notes last night. Or cattywampus placement. Can we all agree cattywampus should have been the name of a shade in my palette? Like, that's a great word. That's almost as good as pizzazz, maybe even better. One that immediately comes to mind with that is like the Too Faced Erika Jayne palette, I think it was, where stuff was just like all over the place. And it did fit the pretty mess concept, I suppose, but it's just like, visually to me, I don't like looking at it. And then palettes like this where, you know, we've got everything, different sizes and shapes. I also think about some palettes I have from Clinique that I've gotten around the holidays, and it's like one shadow is going to be the size of a friggin' silver dollar and the other one's smaller than a dime. And it's kind of like the brand saying, we know you're going to need this way more than this, and sometimes it's true, but sometimes not. Me, I really like things to be consistently sized or just very sensibly laid out. Like this Bobbi Brown palette, they have given you 2 larger shades. They'll make like 1 or 2 shades larger in a Too Faced chocolate bar palette, but it really makes sense, the colors that that they use for that, like your brow bone highlight, or something that could even double as a cheekbone highlight. But when the entire palette is kind of all over the place, to me, I don't think it helps me formulate the look. I have complained about this one before, but too many shades, what I would call under-edited palettes that could be way smaller. One example, the reason why this came to my mind, Makeup Revolution now has, you know, their little reloaded palettes. This picture tells the story here. And I love Makeup Revolution, but this doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. These great little reloaded palettes, you can see the size there, super convenient, a really nice, like, a tailored amount of shades. And now what they're doing is they're making a jumbo version, and they've really scrambled the shades. Sorry, this isn't wanting to focus, but you see how, like, with this palette here, you got a warm brown here, warm brown there, warm brown over here, down there, over here. It's all scrambled up, I think, to almost distract you from the fact that there is so much overlap going on. I mean, I see 6 pinks that look almost identical. And I get trying to do something different, offer up some variety, and the quality, if the quality is like it is on these smaller ones, these could be great palettes still. But you know, I feel like anymore I'm valuing not just having something huge, but having something that has really been smartly designed, thoughtfully designed, let's say that. And I kind of feel that way about Morphe palettes too. Morphe is gonna do the gradient thing. It's gonna make it super obvious that, like, there are 12 taupes in this palette, and they all might just be a speck off from one another, but they're really close. And we got to keep in mind that by the time colors sheer out and blend out on our eyes, they're not going to differentiate themselves all as much as they even look in the palette. So if they look that similar in the palette, they're going to look really similar on the eyes. I'll probably get one of those palettes because I really do want to see how it is. It's just a little frustrating. And then finally, lipsticks and balms that can't hold their own in the tubes. Example being the Fresh Sugar balms, these mini ones. I don't have a lot of the full size, but I do have a couple, and I don't notice this issue so much with the full size, but this is a brand that puts out tons of mini kits, right? This is not just a product that's occasionally on the market. There are a lot of kits, and for example, my berry here. Look at what's happening around the bottom. Like, you can tell this is one that has completely broken off, and I think I at one point got it upright and put it in my freezer for a little bit. I still use this stuff, and I've got a handful of these, but I am so careful when I use them, and you can tell all the way up the side how it's tilted and it's hit up against the side of this. And I wish they would create a packaging almost like the style of the Bare Minerals lipsticks, where the tube is really hugging the inner product, and it won't give it that room to move around. But that's all that I have for right now. I feel like I'm gonna wrap up this video or be in the midst of editing and probably come up with like 1,000 more. But these are just the little things, the little product pet peeves that you run into all the time, and I thought I would talk about it. Thank you, Marie, for the great video idea, because I do think this was fun. I hope you see it in the lighthearted way I do, and I hope you'll let me know in the comments section like what your product pet peeves are as well. If you've got some other YouTubers you would like to see this video from, maybe let them know, like, hey, check out Emily's video, this might be a cool tag. But yeah, if you ever reach a day where you're like, I need to get something off my chest, like, shoot a video like this. Thank you for your time, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you again very soon. Bye.